The shadow in Tommy's room. Tommy Harris was 7 years old when the nightmares began. At first, they were just bad dreams, vague and unsettling, but nothing more. But as the nights wore on, the darkness in his room grew heavier, suffocating. It started as a whisper, barely audible, rustling through the air like the wind slipping through a crack in the window. He heard someone calling out, "Tommy! Tommy!" He would wake up in a cold sweat, heart pounding, staring into the inky blackness of his bedroom. His nightlight cast feeble glows across the walls, but in the corners, the darkness loomed, thick and unmoving. At first, he told himself it was just his imagination, until the night he saw it. It was a Tuesday night when Tommy first laid eyes on the thing lurking in his room. The moonlight shone through his curtains, barely illuminating the furniture. He turned over in bed, squeezing his stuffed bear close, and then he saw it. A shape stood in the corner, tall, impossibly thin, blacker than the night itself, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, and the only thing visible in the darkness were its eyes, two hollow, gleaming voids, staring directly at him. Tommy's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to scream, but terror sealed his lips. The shadow didn't move, it only stood there, watching. Minutes passed, maybe hours, before he dared to blink. When he did, the thing was gone. "It was just a bad dream, sweetheart," his mother said the next morning, ruffling his hair. "No, it was real. It was standing in the corner," Tommy insisted, eyes wide with fear. His father sighed from behind his newspaper. "Buddy, we all see shadows at night. Your eyes play tricks on you in the dark." "But it had eyes," Tommy whispered, clutching his bear tightly. "It was looking at me." His mother and father exchanged glances before his mother knelt beside him. "Tell you what, how about we leave the hallway light on tonight? That way, there won't be any shadows, okay?" Tommy nodded, but deep down, he knew the light wouldn't help. The thing in his room wasn't just a shadow, it was something else, something alive. For a few nights, nothing happened. Tommy started to believe that maybe his parents were right. It had all been his imagination. But then came the scratching. It started slow. A faint, deliberate scrape against the wood of his bedroom door. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Tommy sat up in bed, eyes locked on the door. The sound was quiet but insistent, like nails dragging over the wood grain. He clutched his bear, heart thundering in his chest. "Mom?" he whispered. "Dad?" There was no answer. The scratching continued, rhythmic and unrelenting. Then, the doorknob began to turn. Tommy did what any terrified 7-year-old would do. He pulled the covers over his head and prayed for morning. Eventually, the scratching stopped. He didn't sleep that night. The following evening, his mother tucked him in, kissed his forehead, and turned on the hallway light before shutting his door. Tommy laid in bed, staring at the closet door. It was open. His mother always closed it. Always. He swallowed hard and sat up. "Mom?" he called. A whisper answered from the closet. "Tommy, come here." Ice crawled down his spine. The voice was raspy, almost playful, but wrong. It wasn't his mother. It wasn't his father. The closet door creaked open wider. Tommy refused to sleep. He sat in bed, covers pulled up to his chin, eyes locked on the closet. Hours passed. Then, as the clock struck 3, the air in the room changed. The hallway light flickered off. Darkness swallowed the room, thick and oppressive. Then, from the closet, it stepped out. The shadow moved slowly, its elongated fingers twitching as it emerged. It had no face, only those hollow, gleaming eyes. It didn't walk. It glided effortlessly across the floor. Tommy whimpered, frozen in fear. The thing stopped at the foot of his bed. Then it reached out. A bony, claw-like hand grasped his ankle. Ice shot through his body, and for the first time he found his voice. He screamed. His parents burst into the room, switching on the lights. The shadow was gone, but Tommy knew the truth. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a trick of the light. His parents let him sleep with them that night, but it didn't matter. The thing had touched him. It had marked him. The next evening, he refused to go to bed. "It will come back," he whispered, voice hollow. His father sighed, exhausted. "There is nothing in your room, Tommy. Look, I'll prove it." He took Tommy by the hand and led him inside. "See? Just your toys, no monsters." But Tommy wasn't looking at the floor. He was staring at the ceiling. His father followed his gaze. A grin split the darkness above them. Hollow, gleaming eyes peered down from the shadows. The creature sprawled across the ceiling like a grotesque spider. Then it dropped. Tommy never screamed. The next morning, Tommy's bed was empty. His parents searched the house, called the police, and combed the neighborhood, but Tommy was gone, vanished without a trace. His window remained locked, his door closed, his bear still on the bed. The only sign that anything had happened was the closet door hanging open, its depths impossibly dark. Some nights, when the house is quiet, Tommy's mother swears she hears a whisper drifting from his room. "Mommy, let me out."